Characters who've mastered the way of the sword tend to be some of the most popular characters in anime. I'm talking about swordsmen like Yami from Black Clover or Mihawk from One Piece. Characters who are overpowered in their own way. Will your favourite swordsman make it onto our list today? From the most stylish to literal gods in this verse, let's find out as we rank the top 20 overpowered swordsmen in anime. Starting off this list, we have Afro, the protagonist of Afro Samurai. Ever since Afro was young, he started his journey of revenge because his father was killed in front of his very own eyes. Now this turned the innocent boy into a cold-hearted killer, and he was a good one too. Afro has trained with his sword for a long time, developing skills to the point where he could practically parry bullets. Not to mention, this man can fight 20 guys at the same time without even breaking a sweat. Afro dealt with all of them using only one hand, having enough strength to cleave through bone and limbs with just one swing. He was so strong to the point that he could impale a person with the sheath of his sword, which, I mean, is a move you rarely get to see, isn't it? His combat style flows like water, swift and lethal, combining the grace of traditional Japanese swordsmanship with his own unique techniques. Afro is also one of the few guys we have on this list who can be considered a pure swordsman. No special powers, no magic, just pure slicing and dicing. Yes, this is the guy we're starting off with because we want to start off strong. So stay tuned because the others will blow your mind. Next, we have Kirito from Sword Art Online, and of course, everyone knows who he is. This one's a bit of a cheat since the flesh and blood Kirito isn't really the best swordsman we've met, but when he enters the virtual world, that's when things get real, and Kirito is a force to be reckoned with. Even without the magic and power-ups, Kirito stands in a league of his own with his sword skills. He dual wields 2 swords, has been shown to have some incredible movement, and is so fast people have a hard time keeping track of him. It was clear during his initial fight with the Gleam Eyes floor boss that he became a literal blender because of how fast his cuts were, but it didn't stop there. In his recent Star King form, Kirito taps into unprecedented levels of power, unleashing feats of awesome magnitudes. When faced with Gabrielle, his slash basically disintegrates the villain and creates a towering beam that shoots into the sky, its height rivaling that of the planet itself. Now at this point, it's no long shot that Kirito is one of the most overpowered swordsmen around. But protagonists aren't the only ones who shine, because next up we have a side character called Goemon. Now this guy looks and acts like a samurai, but was initially trained as a ninja, which is just as cool. However, it doesn't mean that he's not an incredibly skilled swordsman. His sword can practically cut through pretty much anything, you name it. He has the speed to match his swordsmanship and has the normal feats of being able to cut bullets with steel, with emphasis on the word normal. Throughout the series, Goemon has faced and defeated numerous formidable opponents, including skilled martial artists, expert marksmen, and even other swordsmen. His ability to outmatch adversaries in combat showcases incredible prowess and strategic thinking. And did I mention, he can also cut lightning? How crazy is that? Moving on, we have Alucard from Castlevania. Now, we've been talking about human swordsmen up until now, but how about a vampire swordsman? Ever heard of that before? The son of Count Dracula has several abilities that his father possessed, including superhuman speed, strength, endurance, and immortality. Oh, also shape-shifting, telekinesis, magic, and I think you get the point now, don't you? Now, other than all of those powers, Alucard is also a master swordsman with hundreds, if not thousands of years of experience. Additionally, he utilizes telekinesis to manipulate his sword independently, a highly effective and unconventional technique that's proven deadly against skilled vampire adversaries. Apparently, Alucard isn't like all the other typical swordsmen in the slightest, considering how he controls his blade with his mind for the most part, but it's easy to see how incredibly overpowered this vampire is. It's a good thing he's one of the good guys. Coming up, we have Yami, the captain of the Black Bulls from Black Clover. Now, Yami does have some super awesome sword skills, but a vast amount of his power comes from the magic he uses with his swordsmanship. He possesses the rare dark magic attribute, and he uses this form of magic to generate and manipulate the element of darkness, mainly by channeling it into his sword. Dark magic also has the unique ability to absorb other magic types, particularly light magic, making Yami a formidable opponent capable of countering various magical elements. Absorption aside, the way his dark magic lets him send off slashes is like something Zoro would do. His strikes can literally cut dimensions when imbued with magic, and at the same time literally blow a hole through one of the series' strongest villains. He literally has it all. Long range slashes, counter different magic types, predict attacks through ki, and has incredible strength. No wonder he's one of the strongest dudes around in Black Clover. Next up we have Hakuro from the time I got reincarnated as a slime. We can't exactly have a list without at least one incredibly old guy who's a master of the sword now, can we? He was originally an ogre before eventually being named by Rimuru and becoming an absolute beast. Besides his heritage, he was also the ogre tribe's martial instructor and the strongest swordsman of their royal guard at one point. After being named by Rimuru, Hakuro's magical energy dispersed from his body, melded with the environment and reassembled. Even Hakuro's perception was improved through thought acceleration, which was given to him by Rimuru. With his heavenly eye, he literally sees the world in slow motion and can move so fast that even other beings with thought acceleration couldn't even flinch before his slashes hit them. He's probably one of the strongest swordsmen in Tensura with all those cards up his sleeves, not to mention one of the fastest too. Want a more traditional swordsman? Then say hello to Nanashi from Sword of the Stranger. Before Nanashi, the only other human swordsman we mentioned was Afro. By human, I mean these are dudes who don't have superpowers or any special abilities, rather they're just masters of the way of the sword. Nanashi himself is a mysterious swordsman with a troubled past who becomes involved in protecting a young boy named Kotaro and his dog. Nanashi's babysitting skills are put to the test as he has to fight a lot of enemies, each one different from the last, both in strength and style. It might be hard for Nanashi, but it's awesome for us to watch. Even without drawing his blade, Nanashi was in a league of his own, able to use his surroundings to his advantage and turn the tides of any battle. Like the way he smashed the throat of a fighter with his sheathed blade, which has got to hurt way more than being decapitated, right? He also had exceptional willpower, as even when hurt and tired, Nanashi kept up with Luo Lang in their final battle, exchanging blows evenly and ultimately defeating him. Despite Luo Lang's strength and being under the influence of drugs, Nanashi's pure skill surpassed him completely. Next on the list we have Fukuchi from Bungo Stray Dogs. This middle-aged man is the captain of the Hunting Dogs, a grade A squad and the strongest military unit in the military police. I call him middle-aged because he looks so old, but let's just put him in the same category as Hakuro. Now, Fukuchi possesses a unique ability called Mirror Lion, which enables him to amplify the power of any weapon he holds 100 times, which is just super overpowered. Other than his awesome ability, he also possesses the space-time sword Shinto Ameno Gozen. The sword can cut through the air for about a foot, but with Fukuchi's power, it can cut even farther. It can also cut through time, going back a dozen seconds or so. So we have a guy who's experienced with swords, has an ability that amplifies his weapon, and has a sword that can cut back in time, and that's a god tier level of strength. Fukuchi can literally send himself a message in the past and change his future using his sword. He can even cut the past itself. It's absolutely broken how Fukuchi uses his power, and he's by far one of the most overpowered dudes in Bungo Stray Dogs, which is why it took two important characters just to challenge him. Going back to the classics now, we have Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. Hiei was originally a villain in the series, who later became one of the protagonists, which is great because this cursed child is an extremely strong character. After being abandoned by his tribe, thrown off a cliff, and raised by bandits, Hiei became quite independent and also a bit ruthless. He literally got the Spartan treatment, considering he was yeeted off a cliff. It worked out in the end since he became incredibly powerful. He later got the Jagan implant from Shigure and had to start from scratch as a D-class apprentice and learn the art of swordsmanship. Hiei is an exceptional swordsman, wielding his trademark Bushido-style katana with with mystery. Trained by Shigure, he developed his own unique swordsmanship style, characterized by lightning-fast precision strikes. With his incredible speed, he can deliver up to 16 strikes in a second, a skill that improves as his powers grow. Hiei's accuracy is also unparalleled, demonstrated by his ability to throw his sword with pinpoint precision, anchor Kurama's Rose Whip, or precisely stab without hitting vital organs. Additionally, he can cut through and redirect energy attacks because, of course, he's good at everything, not just with the sword. Next up, we have Yuta from Jujutsu Kaisen, hailed far and wide as second only to Gojo Satoru. Now, the world of Jujutsu Kaisen has some characters who are incredibly strong, but more often than not, they tend to go for an all-brawl hand-to-hand combat. But there's one that just wants to slice and dice people, and it's Yuta. Yuta was trained in armed combat by Maki, and this is where he learned how to properly wield a katana. Even with the sword, Yuta is incredibly powerful, as again, he's only second to Gojo, a man who was so strong, he changed the balance of the world. We only get to see a glimpse of him being in action in the last season, but in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, we got to see Yuta put his power on display against Geto, and boy was it amazing to watch. His ability to copy techniques and use them as his own is exceptionally overpowered, and he also has a cursed spirit Rika who adds her own strength to Yuta's. With Rika's strength and cursed energy reserves, Yuta can pull off attacks on repeat that other sorcerers wouldn't normally be able to do. And trust me when I say this isn't his strongest form yet. We're halfway through the list now, and if you're dueling with delight over this video, don't forget to wield your like and subscribe buttons. Your support is our greatest weapon in forging more thrilling content for you. Coming in at number 10, we have Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach. Being the main character of a shonen anime means that he will, of course, be amongst the most OP dudes around. After becoming a Soul Reaper, he takes on the responsibility of protecting the living world from evil spirits known as Hollows, and his weapon of choice for this is his humongous sword. It's literally like Guts' Dragon Slayer with how huge it is. Anyway, Ichigo himself developed his power and skills by training under various masters and has developed his abilities to the peak. He can level entire cities, cut mountains, and defeat godly opponents. His swordplay may not look to be top tier, but his unfathomable strength and speed make all of his blows extremely powerful. He also has all the types of powers available to him, as he's part Shinigami, part Quincy, part Hollow, and part human. He literally has powers from every notable species, and when he reaches his highest transformation, you better wish that you're on his side. Moving on, we have Levi Ackerman, the most iconic swordsman of all time, from AOT. Known as humanity's strongest soldier, Levi has a lot of bragging rights when it comes to his sword skills, and you know what? He doesn't even bark. He just bites. He's not like the traditional swordsman in the sense that most of his fights are in the air. He's exceptionally adept at aerial combat, using the omnidirectional maneuvering gear and using his blades to take down literal titans. The enemies humanity has to face in this anime are unlike anywhere else, as these titans are incredibly difficult to take down, with most soldiers dying in the fight against them. During the course of the series, you fear for everyone's lives except Levi's, because the villains fear him. He's been shown to have a skill on a completely different level, with even titan shifters trying to run away from him as soon as they see him. Levi could shred through titans in the blink of an eye, and as such, normal humans didn't even stand a chance against him. He was even more feared than the main protagonist of the series at one point, and there aren't many who can reach his level. Levi makes titan shifters afraid, but this next one gave the Demon King PTSD. Not much has been revealed about this awe-inspiring man, but the things that have been revealed put Yorichi up as the strongest demon slayer in existence. Right now, we know that he was the only man to come close to defeating Muzan, pushing the demon to the point of running away and being traumatized, which is a win all in all. Yorichi used the deadly sun breathing, the first breathing technique. The closest we get to seeing his prowess with the sword is during the time we see a battle doll in action. This mechanical doll was modeled after Yorichi and was meant to be a training doll. It had 6 arms because it couldn't replicate Yoriji's speed with just 2 arms, which is a testament to how overpowered he must have been. Like, the guy was so strong that you needed to give him 6 replica arms just to get close to him. Besides all of this, he also possessed the Demon Slayer mark and the Transparent World, which means he had all the power boosts associated with it as well. Closing in on the last 5 of this list, we have Hiko Sejuro from Rurouni Kenshin. Hiko Sejuro is the master of our protagonist, Himura Kenshin. A shonen protagonist master tends to be a stepping stone for the protagonist. You know the story. The student surpasses the master and becomes stronger than him overall. But not here. This master is literally the strongest fighter in the series, surpassing all other characters by a wide margin, including the protagonist. Despite Kenshin appearing to match his master speed during their second training session, Hiko intentionally restrains his true abilities beneath his 90-kilogram cloak, like how Piccolo or Goku used weighted clothes to train. But that's a 90-kilogram cloak, might I just remind you. The only instance in the series where he sheds the cloak is when he prepares to confront Kenshin in their second training bout, and you can imagine how strong he was after the weight was taken off his shoulders. Hiko was completely mastered the Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu, being able to use it at maximum output. He can destroy the ground beneath him and reach speeds faster than the human eye can see. His body is in peak human condition, making his physical strength something to behold. He can literally tear apart any normal and even powerful human beings without even breaking a sweat. Next, we have Killer Bee from Naruto. Killer Bee's famous for his excellent skills in hand-to-hand combat and his control over the Eight Tails chakra, also for his fire raps. He likes using swords in fights, especially his 7-blade style, which he's really good at. Despite its strange look, Bee shows off how he's seriously skilled with this style to the point where even Sasuke, a main character, almost died. He uses unpredictable swings from different angles, kinda like hip-hop moves, to keep his enemies on their toes during fights. Besides that, Bee's really good at using lightning style techniques. He can literally electrify his swords, which make them cut even better. He's so good with lightning style that he can make a tiny pencil point strong enough to go through a big tree trunk and even the ground underneath. The cherry on top is how Bee is on good terms with the Eight Tails Gyuki. Overall, Bee is pretty overpowered as a character and just a fun dude to hang around with. Crashing into this list, and up next we have King Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist. Among overpowered characters, King Bradley consistently ends up in the top 10. That's not to say he'd beat characters from other anime, but because of the fact he could definitely defeat most of the characters in his own anime and in the coldest possible ways. Known as Wrath, Bradley has super strength, speed and reflexes, making him one of the toughest fighters in the series. He shows off the extent of his skills when he stormed the stronghold. He deflected bullets, cut a tank's ammunition before destroying the tank, fought off multiple strong characters, and proved to be an overall unstoppable menace. I mean, have you ever seen a swordsman throw hands with a tank? In the end, he could never have been defeated if not for the constant fighting and the stroke of dumb luck. Before we reveal the top 3, we have one of the most iconic swordsmen in all of anime manga, Guts from Berserk. Guts, the original black swordsman and a former mercenary turned ruthless fighter, is just a beast. His past is marked by tragedy. Almost everyone he's loved has died or is in pain. And what's worse is that his best friend betrayed him. If you read the manga or watch the anime, you know how some horrific things went down. With his enormous sword, the Dragon Slayer, Guts sets out on a journey filled with brutality and conflict to confront Griffith and the evil entities threatening the world. Even before demons were involved in the situation, Guts was always exceptionally powerful, wielding an excessively big sword and having the ability to cut through multiple men at the same time. His strength and ability only increased with time, until finally it was boosted further by his rage after the tragedy. Guts soon gained his iconic Dragon Slayer sword and the Berserker armor. He even became powerful enough to take on extremely powerful demons, all while fueled by his limitless rage. His endurance is unmatched, as is his tenacity, as we never see Guts give up or lie down. Demons stay hidden in darkness because of this one man. Starting off the top 3 of this list, we have the Atomic Samurai from One Punch Man. The villains in One Punch Man are ridiculously strong, and so are the heroes, but they're definitely on the weak end of the spectrum, except of course the S-Class heroes. One of these heroes is the fabled Atomic Samurai. We haven't seen much of what Atomic Samurai is capable of, but considering the things we have seen, we can comfortably put him down amongst the most powerful in this list. One of his feats was when he faced off against the former Swordsmaster. Hiragiri was trying to convince the Council of Swordmasters to become demons just like him when he was opposed by Atomic Samurai, who simply mocked Hiragiri for having fallen so low. When Hiragiri tried to attack, in an instant, Atomic Samurai already made hundreds of cuts. He's so fast and precise that he can cut on an atomic level. I'm not kidding around when I say he can cut the powerhouse of the Cell. And when that's gone, you're gone. Up next, from an S-Class hero, we have Gintama's ultimate villain. Utsuro, the swordsman who turned the entire series upside down. The fact that he was Gintoki's teacher gave him added brownie points as a villain, since who doesn't love a betrayal story, eh? Anyway, let's focus on how strong Utsuro is as a swordsman. He possesses incredible regenerative abilities, allowing him to heal from virtually any injury and effectively granting him immortality. He's incredibly skilled with a blade and as a fighter in general, which we could see when he knocked around Sogo, Kagura and Nobume at the same time. He's also a master of the Hake and has great speed, strength and reflexes. Utsuro is basically like Wolverine if Wolverine used an actual sword. Top tier swordsmanship with an unkillable body made Utsuro someone even Umibos considered a monstrous entity. This is great praise coming from a Yata warrior who's recognized as the universe's most powerful fighter. I mean, just to defeat Utsuro, it required the entire cast to join together and fight him and his minions. Utsuro would definitely have been ranked as the most overpowered swordsman, if not for Dracul Mihawk. The only character that literally has the title of strongest swordsman in the world. The One Piece verse is bombarded with crazy strong characters, so to be known as the strongest swordsman is no easy feat and should never be belittled. The first time Mihawk shows himself, he sweeps the floor with Roronoa Zoro, a straw hat who wishes to be the strongest swordsman. And he does this with minimal effort and a pocket knife, like literally. We all know how strong Zoro is, but this guy took him down with a small knife while barely even moving. On top of that, Mihawk is strong enough to travel the vast ocean without a crew on a single-man boat. Considering the dangers of the oceans which are filled with gigantic monsters, this is a monumental feat. Mihawk can even cut icebergs in half. He of course can cut just about anything else. Steel, ships, humans, everything. And he possesses one of the 12 supreme grade blades, the Black Blade Yoru. In the world of One Piece, Mihawk is at his peak. He truly is the strongest swordsman in the world. And with that, we're wrapping up this list of the top 20 overpowered swordsmen in anime. With so many overpowered swordsmen around, we're sure that we may have missed some of your favorites, or at least your ranking would be in a different order from ours, so don't keep us hanging about that. Be sure to comment down below any moments that you think should have made it to this list. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe so we can show you more of the most overpowered characters around. See you next time.